Now, to mark this year's Global Day of the Disappeared, the charity Khalsa Aid International is launching a new exhibition highlighting the vast number of missing men from the Indian state of Punjab. Thousands vanished during the 80s and 90s, most feared dead after being held by authorities. Well, Ravi Singh is the chief executive of the organisation behind this and is with us now. Tell us a little bit more then about these men. They were predominantly from Sikh origins from this region.
Most were between the ages from 16 to 35. And when in the insurgency movement after the attack on the Golden Temple in 1984 by the Indian government led to the insurgency, we were told there's only 300 or 400 so-called terrorists as a government figures in the state. But over 50, the figures are from 50 to 150,000 young Sikh men that simply disappeared. And they weren't taken secretly. It's like, I think people think they disappeared secretly. They were taken in broad daylight. And, and when the witnesses basically were intimidated, they vanished. The witnesses vanished too, if they spoke up. So it's something that's not spoken about. I think we see the democratic side of largest democracy in India, but in the world, but we don't see the veil behind it. Myself, one of my friends, very close childhood friends, was tortured in Fife police station and killed in a fake encounter. So these became synonymous with murder, mayhem, and disappearances. I think it's very, very important that these issues are spoken about because, what happens generally, we see the disappearances and then the fallout in the community, on the international community. For the Sikhs, there's been a deadly silence. I mean, not many people know what happened to Punjab. So what led from a peaceful political movement for economic rights and social justice was turned into something completely different, where we lost so many young men simply because they were a certain age group, they were practicing Sikhs, and they were seen as a threat.
Considered a threat by the authorities.
Threat by the authorities.
Yeah, give us a sense of the pictures that you have got then in this exhibition, what we can expect to see, but also what you hope those pictures will do.
I think what you expect to see is like out of sight, out of mind. People forget what happened, even in our own community. You'll see the power behind the pictures, the images, that 1,000-yard stare of the mother or the father who still await. They think, some of these parents still think their sons are coming back. I've seen mothers look at the pictures all day long. When you ask them, why do you keep staring after 30 years? They say, well, if my son comes back, I can recognize him. So the pain, the little write-ups, the stories, what happened, what their mother and the father expects. So these pictures are very powerful. It's individual suffering. And it's something that's very close to our hearts, that the world needs to know that, we Sikhs are very generous. We seem to be very great citizens, but we have suffered so much in the 80s and nobody wants to talk about us. These disappeared on this particular day, UN International Day of the Disappeared, hopefully marks a new beginning for us, for the international community, who can actually understand what we went through in the 80s.
Would you also like the international community to step in and to try and get some resolution to these cases, to find out exactly what happened?
Well, we know there's tens of thousands were cremated in particular cremation fields, and the guy who discovered them, Jaswant Singh Kalra, he's a human rights activist, spoke at the British Parliament, simply disappeared too in mid-90s. We would like the United Nations, we would like major international organizations to step into Punjab, carry an independent investigation without any interference to see exactly what happened and give some justice to those families who are suffering from the fallout. We don't see that. So we are supporting many as families as we can, but we need justice for those families who are dying without knowing where their sons or their fathers or their brothers disappeared.
Yeah, incredibly powerful exhibition which is coming from tomorrow. Ravi, we are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. I know there is hope as well to bring that exhibition in a physical form to the capital, but if you go to the Khalsa Aid website from tomorrow, you'll be able to find out details of where you can see the online version of that exhibition.